The little girl stood in the rain, trembling, her worn-out coat doing nothing to shield her from the cold. She looked up at the stranger with eyes that had seen too much pain for someone so young. Her voice cracked as she whispered the words that would change everything. "Please, sir, just pretend to hug me, just for a minute, so they'll think someone cares." The man froze. He had no idea that this single moment, this one encounter on a rainy Tuesday evening, would unravel secrets he'd spent 20 years trying to forget. He had no idea that the frightened child standing before him was about to expose a truth that would shatter everything he thought he knew about his own past. His name was Michael Harrison, 58 years old, self-made billionaire, CEO of Harrison Industries, one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in North America. He wore a $1,000 suit beneath his black overcoat, and his shoes probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. He'd just left a charity gala where he'd written a check for $500,000 without blinking. Another tax write-off, another photo opportunity, another evening of shallow conversations and fake smiles. But now, standing on this empty street corner in the rain, staring down at this child who couldn't have been more than 9 years old, Michael felt something he hadn't felt in decades. Something raw, something real. The girl's clothes were threadbare and soaked through. Her dark hair clung to her pale face. Her lips had a slight blue tinge from the cold. And those eyes, God, those eyes looked hollow, like someone had stolen the childhood right out of them. Why? Michael heard himself ask, "Why do you need someone to pretend?" The girl glanced nervously down the street toward a group of teenagers huddled under a bus stop awning. They were pointing at her, laughing. One of them made a cruel gesture, mimicking crying. "They follow me home from school every day," the girl whispered. "They call me names. They say nobody loves me. They say I'm going to end up like my mom." Her voice dropped even lower. "Sometimes they push me, steal my backpack. Yesterday, they took my lunch money and threw my books in a puddle." Michael's jaw tightened. He followed her gaze to the teenagers. They looked about 16 or 17, old enough to know better, old enough to understand the cruelty of their actions. "If they see someone hugging me, someone who looks important like you, maybe they'll think I'm not alone. Maybe they'll leave me alone, just for today." The girl's voice broke. "Please, I just need one day where I don't have to be afraid." Something inside Michael's chest cracked. He'd built empires. He negotiated billion-dollar deals. He'd stood before shareholders and boards of directors without flinching. But this 9-year-old girl had just demolished every wall he constructed around his heart with a single desperate request. He knelt down in the rain, not caring about his expensive suit, and gently pulled the child into his arms. She stiffened at first, surprised, then slowly melted into the embrace. He could feel her tiny body shaking, feel the way she gripped his coat like it was a life raft in a stormy sea. "It's okay," he whispered. "You're safe now." He held her for what felt like an eternity, but was probably only a minute. When he finally pulled back, he saw the tears streaming down her face, mixing with the rain. But he also saw something else in those hollow eyes, a flicker of hope. The teenagers had gone quiet. They were watching now, uncertain. Michael stood up, keeping one protective hand on the girl's shoulder, and stared them down with the same ice-cold expression he used in hostile boardroom takeovers. The kids shifted uncomfortably, then slowly dispersed, muttering to themselves. "What's your name?" Michael asked, looking back down at the child. "Emma," she said quietly. "Emma Carter." The name hit him like a freight train. Carter. His breath caught in his throat. It couldn't be. After all these years, it couldn't possibly be. "Where do you live, Emma?" She pointed down the street toward a rundown apartment complex. The building looked like it was one strong wind away from collapsing. Broken windows, graffiti on the walls, the kind of place where hope went to die. "And your mother? Where is she?" Emma's face crumpled. "She's sick, really sick. She can't work anymore. She tries, but..." The girl's voice trailed off. "We don't have much money. Sometimes we don't have enough for food. That's why the kids make fun of me. Because my clothes are old and I smell sometimes because our hot water doesn't always work. Michael felt something he hadn't felt in 23 years. Guilt. Soul-crushing, suffocating guilt. "Take me to your mother," he said. It wasn't a request. Emma looked up at him with confusion and fear. "Why? Are you going to call someone? Are they going to take me away?" "No, sweetheart. I just want to help. I promise." The girl studied his face for a long moment, searching for deception, for danger. Whatever she saw must have reassured her, because she slowly nodded and started walking toward the apartment building. As they walked, Michael's mind raced back through time. 23 years ago, he'd been 35. Ambitious, ruthless, climbing the corporate ladder with single-minded determination. He'd been dating a woman named Jennifer Carter. Beautiful, kind, working 2 jobs to support herself through nursing school. But Michael had been too focused on his career, too obsessed with success. When Jennifer told him she was pregnant, he'd panicked. He'd told her he wasn't ready, told her a child would ruin everything he'd worked for. He'd given her money, told her to take care of it, and walked away. She called him crying a few weeks later, said she couldn't go through with it, said she was going to have the baby. Michael had cut off all contact, changed his number, moved to a different city for a new job opportunity. He convinced himself it was for the best, told himself she was better off without him. He'd never looked back. Until now. They reached the apartment building. The elevator was broken, so they climbed 4 flights of stairs. The stairwell smelled like cigarettes and mildew. Finally, Emma stopped in front of a door with peeling paint and a broken lock that had been reinforced with chain. Emma knocked. "Mom, it's me. I brought someone." A weak voice called from inside. "Emma? Who's with you, baby?" The door opened slowly, held by the chain. A woman's face appeared in the gap, and Michael's heart stopped. Jennifer. She looked so different from the vibrant young woman he'd known. Her face was gaunt, her skin pale. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. Her hair, once thick and lustrous, now hung thin and lifeless around her shoulders. But it was her, unmistakably her. Her eyes widened when she saw him. The color drained from her already pale face. "Michael," she whispered, her voice filled with disbelief and something else. "Fear? Anger? Pain?" "Hello, Jennifer," he said quietly. She just stared at him for a long moment, then slowly closed the door to unhook the chain. When she opened again, he could see the tiny apartment behind her. One room serving as bedroom, living room, and kitchen. A mattress on the floor. A small portable stove. Clothes hanging on a line strung across the room. The apartment was clean despite its condition, but the poverty was inescapable. "What are you doing here?" Jennifer's voice was hoarse. She swayed slightly, catching herself on the doorframe. "Mom, he helped me," Emma said quickly. "The kids were bothering me again, and he made them stop." Jennifer's eyes filled with tears. She looked at Michael with an expression that broke something fundamental inside him. It was a look of a mother who'd fought every battle alone, who'd given everything she had, and still felt like it wasn't enough. "You should sit down," Michael said, noticing how unsteady she was. "Please." Jennifer laughed bitterly. "Why? Why should I do anything you say? You left, Michael. You walked away 23 years ago and never looked back." "I know," he said. His voice cracked. "I know, and I'm sorry it doesn't even begin to cover it. But I'm here now, and I need to know." He glanced at Emma, who was watching them both with wide, confused eyes. Is she yours?" Jennifer finished for him. Her laugh was hollow. "What do you think?" Michael looked at Emma, really looked at her, the shape of her face, the color of her eyes, that stubborn set of her jaw he saw in the mirror every morning. How had he not seen it immediately? "Oh, God," he breathed. "Yeah," Jennifer said. "Oh, God is right. But don't worry, Michael. We've managed just fine without you all these years. We don't need your guilt money or your pity." "Mom." Emma's voice was small. Is he my dad?" The silence that followed was deafening. Jennifer's face crumpled, and she sank down onto the edge of the mattress, covering her face with her hands. Her shoulders shook with silent sobs. Michael knelt down in front of Emma again. "Yes," he said, his voice thick with emotion. Yes, I am. And I am so sorry that I wasn't here. That I didn't know how incredible you are. That I let fear and stupidity make me into someone I'm ashamed of. Emma stared at him, processing this information. You're my dad? My real dad. Yes. Then why weren't you there? The question was simple, devastating. Why didn't you want me? Michael felt tears streaming down his face. He didn't try to hide them. Because I was a coward. Because I was selfish and scared and stupid. Because I put my career ahead of everything else. And I lost sight of what really matters. And every day since, even though I didn't know it, I've been missing out on knowing the bravest, most amazing person I've ever met. He looked up at Jennifer. What's wrong? What kind of sick? Jennifer wiped her eyes. Stage 4 cancer, she said flatly. Started in my breast, spread to my lymph nodes, now to my bones and liver. The doctors give me maybe 6 months. Maybe less. The words hit Michael like bullets. What about treatment? Chemotherapy? Surgery? Jennifer laughed again, that same bitter, defeated sound. With what money, Michael? Do you know how much cancer treatment costs? Even with the medical assistance I qualified for, the medications, the travel to appointments, the time I have to take off from work that I don't get paid for, I can't afford it. I tried. I really tried. But I had to choose between treatment and keeping a roof over Emma's head, between medication and food in her stomach. I sold everything I had, Jennifer continued, her voice breaking. My car, my mother's jewelry, everything. But it's not enough. It's never enough. And the worst part, the absolute worst part, is knowing that when I'm gone, Emma will have no one, no family. She'll go into the system, into foster care, and I won't be there to protect her. Emma had gone very still beside Michael. Mom, you're really going to die. Jennifer reached out and pulled her daughter close. Oh, baby, I'm so sorry. I tried to keep it from you. I tried to be strong. I knew, Emma whispered. I knew you were sick. I heard you crying at night. I saw the pills. I found the hospital papers you tried to hide. She pulled back, looking at her mother with those haunted eyes. That's why I asked him to pretend to hug me, because I wanted to remember what it felt like. What it would be like if I had someone. When you're gone. Michael couldn't breathe. The weight of his mistakes, of 23 years of absence, of this woman and child suffering while he lived in luxury, crushed him. No, he said firmly. No, that's not how this ends. Jennifer looked at him sharply. What? I own one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the country, Michael said. We have partnerships with every major cancer treatment center. I know the best oncologists in the world. You will get treatment. The best treatment money can buy. I don't want your charity, Jennifer said, her voice hard. It's not charity. It's responsibility. It's me finally, after 23 years, doing what I should have done from the beginning, taking care of my family. We're not your family, Jennifer shot back. You gave up that right. You're right. I did. But Emma didn't give up anything. She's innocent in all of this, and she deserves a father. She deserves to not be afraid of bullies. She deserves to have food and warm water and new clothes and everything I should have been providing all along. Michael turned to Emma. I can't change the past. I can't give you back the years I missed. Your first words, your first steps, your first day of school, I lost all of that because I was a fool. But I can be here now. If you'll let me, if you'll give me a chance to try to be the father you deserved all along. Emma looked at her mother. Jennifer's face was a storm of emotions. Anger, pain, hope, fear. Mom, Emma asked, I don't want you to die. If he can help? Jennifer closed her eyes. When she opened them again, tears spilled down her cheeks. I'm tired, Michael. I'm so tired of fighting alone. I'm tired of being strong. I'm tired of watching my daughter go without while I slowly fade away. Then stop fighting alone, Michael said. Let me help, please. Over the next few days, Michael moved faster than he'd ever moved in his business life. He made calls, pulled strings, used every connection he had. Jennifer was admitted to the finest cancer treatment center in the state. A team of specialists evaluated her case. Yes, it was advanced. Yes, the odds weren't great. But there were new treatments, clinical trials, experimental therapies that showed promise. Michael moved Jennifer and Emma out of that horrible apartment and into a guest house on his estate. Emma got her own room, painted in her favorite color, a closet full of new clothes, a backpack for school filled with supplies. Jennifer got round-the-clock nursing care when she needed to rest between treatments. But Michael did more than just throw money at the problem. He showed up every single day. He drove Emma to her new school, where kids didn't know her as a poor girl with no dad. He helped her with homework. He learned that she loved to read but had never owned her own books, so he filled her room with an entire library. He discovered she'd always wanted to learn piano but never had the chance, so he hired a teacher. When Jennifer was too weak from chemotherapy to get out of bed, Michael sat with her. At first, the conversations were awkward, painful. There was too much history, too much hurt. But slowly, they began to heal. "Why did you really come back that day?" Jennifer asked him one evening. "You could have just given Emma money and walked away. You're good at that." Michael flinched at the barb, but he deserved it. When she told me her name was Emma Carter, something inside me knew. Maybe not consciously, but somewhere deep down I knew. And when I saw you, when I realized what I'd done, what I'd missed, I couldn't walk away again. Not this time. "I hated you," Jennifer said quietly. "For so long, I hated you. I blamed you for everything, for how hard it was, for every time Emma asked about her father, and I didn't know what to say. You should hate me." "I did, but Emma doesn't. Do you know what she told me yesterday?" Jennifer's eyes filled with tears. She said she's glad she asked you to hug her that day. She said maybe God put you there at exactly the right time, because we needed you, and you needed us. Michael's throat tightened. She's extraordinary, just like her mother. "Michael, I'm still angry. I don't know if I can ever fully forgive you. But watching you with Emma, seeing how hard you're trying." Jennifer's voice broke. "If I don't make it, promise me you'll take care of her. Promise me she won't end up alone." "You're going to make it," Michael said fiercely. "And I promise you, no matter what happens, Emma will never be alone again. Never." 6 months later, Jennifer's latest scan showed something miraculous. The tumors were shrinking. The experimental treatment was working. The doctors were cautiously optimistic. She wasn't out of the woods yet, but she was fighting back, winning. Emma had flourished in her new school. She'd made friends, joined the school choir. Her teachers raved about her. That haunted look in her eyes had been replaced by something bright and alive. 1 year after that rainy evening, Michael stood in his living room watching Emma play a piano recital. She'd only been learning for 12 months, but she played with passion and heart. Jennifer sat beside him, thin but stronger than she'd been in years. Her hair was growing back. The color had returned to her cheeks. When Emma finished, she ran to them, and they both wrapped her in a hug. A real one, not pretend. Full of love and hope and second chances. "Dad," Emma said, looking up at Michael, "I'm glad I asked you to hug me that day." Michael's eyes filled with tears. "So am I, sweetheart. So am I." "Do you think you would have stopped if I hadn't?" she asked with the brutal honesty of a child. Michael was quiet for a moment. "I don't know," he admitted. "I was so lost in my own world, so disconnected from what really matters. But you saw something in me that I'd forgotten was there. You took a chance on a stranger in a fancy suit and asked him to care, even if it was just pretend." "But it wasn't pretend," Emma said. "Not really, right?" "No," Michael said, pulling both his daughter and Jennifer close. "It was never pretend. From that first moment, it was real, the most real thing I've ever done." Jennifer looked at him with eyes that still held pain from the past, but also something new, understanding, maybe even the beginning of forgiveness. "You know what the doctors told me this week?" Jennifer said quietly. "They said I'm in remission. They used the word miracle." Michael felt his knees go weak. "Jennifer, I know it could come back. I know I'm not out of the woods. But I'm here. I'm alive. And my daughter has a father who loves her, a father who chose her when it mattered most. She paused. You saved us, Michael. No, Michael said, looking at Emma. She saved me. This little girl who was brave enough to ask a stranger for help, who taught me that it's never too late to do the right thing. That's not me saving you. That's you both saving me from a life I thought was successful but was actually empty. He knelt down in front of Emma. You asked me to pretend to hug you, so the bullies would think someone cared about you. But I need you to know something. I don't have to pretend. Not ever. I care about you more than anything in this world. You're my daughter, and I am so proud to be your father. Emma threw her arms around his neck. I love you, Dad. Those 4 words. The words he'd thought he'd never hear. The words he hadn't even known he was desperate to hear until that rainy night when a frightened little girl looked up at a stranger and asked for the smallest kindness. And in giving her that kindness, that one moment of pretend compassion, he'd found something he didn't even know he'd lost. Purpose, family, love. Sometimes the smallest act of kindness create the biggest miracles. Sometimes a hug that starts as pretend becomes the most real thing you've ever felt. Sometimes the people who save us are the ones we thought we were saving. And sometimes on a rainy Tuesday evening, when you're least expecting it, your entire life can change because one brave little girl had the courage to ask a stranger to care, even if it was just pretend. Because in the end, love is never pretend. It's the truest, most powerful thing in the world, and it can transform everything.